Hudson County View, live at Uncut. I'm your host, John Arhitis. And just before we get into it today, I just wanted to take a moment to wish my dad, Ken A. Hines, who is unfortunately no longer with us, a happy birthday. Would have been 69 today. Just Dad wanted to say I love and miss you. So with that, we're going to get into the latest and greatest of the Hudson County news, as we do every week. First of all, we're going to talk about the Jersey City Council meeting that happened last night. Another marathon meeting, 6 hours, 6 hours and 2 minutes, I guess, if you're keeping an official tally. And the big vote on that agenda was the Liberty Science Center High School item. So obviously there's been a lot of coverage on this at HCV and elsewhere, and I'm fortunate today to be joined by Councilman-at-Large Rolando Lavarro, and we're obviously going to talk about that extensively, and I'm sure much more. Beyond that, last Friday, going back, of course, 6 days, we saw State Senator Brian Stack, Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee, Assemblywoman Annette Chaparro kick off the re-election campaigns in the 33rd Legislative District. Doesn't look like there's going to be much, if any, competition in that race, in those races, but we did see them do it big at St. Anthony's High School in Union City, so we're going to talk to you a little about that. Had a chance to speak with the senator afterwards. Also, we're going to, now talking about LD33, going to be talking about Assemblyman Nick Chiaravalloti. He sent out an email blast to supporters and constituents last night looking for support on his petitions for nomination. So it looks more and more likely that he's going to be running off the Hudson County Democratic Organization line against William Sampson IV, and he is backed by Mayor Jimmy Davis and presumably the HCDO, though they haven't formally put out their endorsements just yet. So all that and much more, but first we're going to take a commercial break.
Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, Jersey City. Hudson County's only monument maker, serving all faiths and cemeteries. Design, studio, and large inventory on site. Cemetery inscriptions and custom orders welcome. Burns Brothers Memorials, Monuments, and Markers, 787 Tunley Avenue, just south of Secaucus Road. Craftsmanship that will last for all eternity. Burns Brothers, Jersey City, Albert H. Hopper, North Arlington. Visit us on the net. Consumer Carpets, 3408 Kennedy Boulevard in the Jersey City Heights, your one-stop store for residential and commercial floor treatments, carpeting, linoleum, tiles, laminates, hardwood floors, area rugs, remnants, all major brands, all in stock. Free estimates, same-day installation. Consumer Carpets, it's savings, selection, installation. Credit cards and debit cards accepted. Financing available. Consumer Carpets, price to fit your budget, installation to fit your schedule. On the net at consumercarpets.com. Consumer Carpets, Jersey City, 201-792-2712.
Newport, the luxury waterfront community on the Hudson River, offers the quality of life you deserve in 10 high-rise rental towers with amenities such as the on-site Newport Path subway, light rail and ferry service, Newport Town Square, 3 playgrounds, dog run, upscale restaurants, retail giants like Sears, JCPenney, Macy's, and Target. Morton Williams Supermarket is just outside your front door. A health and fitness club, spa, skating rink, and medical facilities are also on site. NewportNJ.com. Enjoy the New York skyline from Newport Town Square. Manhattan is just one path stop away or quick ride through the Holland Tunnel. Nursery and private elementary schools all on site. 12-screen movie theater at the Newport Center Mall. Want to visit Newport? Stay at the Westin or Marriott Hotel. Go to NewportNJ.com for details. Newport has luxurious towers, great restaurants, shopping, New York skyline views, schools, playgrounds, a marina and yacht club, gym, spa, fine wine, fine living. It's incredible. It's you. NewportNJ.com. Newport, live like you want.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut. I'm your host, John Arhitis, and as I mentioned at the top of the program today, I'm joined with Jersey City Councilman-at-Large Rolando Lavarro. Councilman, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure. Glad to be with you.
All right, excellent.
Yep.
So, not needless to remind you, long meeting last night about what people expected. This goes back to 2017 when that land deal was approved, $280 million project, SciTech City. Of course, we've heard about this tech center and a STEM-based hub that would be, of course, in conjunction with the Liberty Science Center in the city. Back then, people were talking about this being a public school. Obviously, the final product that we got is a county school, and we heard public school teachers and students speak out against, and we heard some parents in favor. But just with all that said, just what can you tell us about the final outcome last night?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing for a lot of parents and teachers and students. We heard a lot from a lot of students as well. As you said, back in 2017, the discussion centered largely around it being a traditional public school, conventional public school, or a charter school. I was supportive of it. I'm still supportive generally of the vision and the goals of SciTech City, but definitely in terms of this STEM STEM school. It was originally talked about as a K to 12, and now we have before us a high school that is a county school. And after everything that was discussed there, the idea of us contributing $2 million, the bonding for the construction through the HCIA, and those sort of costs for Jersey City, and for us to get a proportion of the seats and not get the entirety, despite practically donating 12 to 16 acres, depending on who you talk to about that, what number that is. I feel like Jersey City got the short end of the stick on that, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Now, going back to Monday at the caucus meeting, as again, you're aware, Mayor Fulop called in, which he doesn't do terribly often, maybe once a quarter, if that. But regardless, he had some choice words for you, and of course, you had some choice words for him. But one of the things that he mentioned was that he called you, quote unquote, the architect of the project, since you were the chair of the Jersey City Redevelopment Authority in 2017, before this went to the council.
Yeah.
And I know you guys talked about it a little, but for people that missed the caucus, I'm sure you'd like to address that.
Yeah, look, I was 100% supportive of the project. I don't disavow that. To characterize me as the architect when this was clearly his vision, and I'm not even trying to, kind of discredit him in any way. I actually thought it was a great idea initially, and still do for the overall project and concept. Again, I want to emphasize that, as well as the idea of a STEM school. Like, it's an amazing opportunity. But that being said, if anyone thinks for a second that Council President Lavarro at that time, or the JCRA chairman at that time, was an architect of anything that didn't require Mayor Fulop's his stamp of approval, essentially, they don't know Jersey City and Hudson County politics, right? I think we've talked a lot about that in recent meetings, about kind of the boss politics in Jersey City, and so nothing kind of moves in city government without the mayor kind of not just giving a stamp of approval, but with him leading the charge on that. And I can give countless examples of that over and over again. But yeah, so it's a gross mischaracterization of that, of kind of my position on the whole thing. Although, again, I don't dispute the idea that I was definitely supportive of the whole thing, of the entire project.
Okay. So with that said, let's talk a little bit about the particulars. I mean, you mentioned it. I'm sure everyone watching or who will watch knows it's a $2 million annual agreement at least. You know, there is a percentage increase involved. But for 30 years with the county, I believe that's going to be the Hudson County Schools of Technology. And we know that the Liberty Science Center is going to put forth $3.45 million towards construction costs, as well as $300,000 in escrow for Hudson County Schools of Technology. So, you know, other than that, anything about the meeting that surprised you, anything about the outcome, and anything going forward you'd like to mention on this?
No, so nothing surprised me. The outcome, it's predictable. In this case, 6-2-1, right? Normally 7-2, but we had an abstention with Councilman Rivera. I think the public's become accustomed to it, that it's just a rubber stamp council around this, and there was an effort, an attempt by Councilman Solomon. I seconded the motion. It was not necessarily, I wasn't terribly in favor of the whole proposal to begin with overall, but seconded the motion, and if there was an opportunity to make amendments to the agreement.
To defer to the next meeting.
To defer it and take the opportunity to make some amendments, people passed on that, right? So if they were genuine and sincere in their efforts to try to ensure that we were maximizing the value and the give back to the city, and making sure Jersey City residents and students were really getting, and families were getting the kind of everything that they're promising for us as in this vision of the science school, the STEM academy. Then it should have been a simple yes vote to table and have some further discussions and tighten things up. It wouldn't be the first time that ever happened, but they decided to just kind of move forward, and that was fairly predictable. The one thing that I would say that kind of, I don't think it never even got mentioned through the whole thing, is just that this idea that, or very little got mentioned. The mayor kind of touted the idea that this was the only option. He's very good at that, at kind of just putting together. It's an either-or situation, like either take my vision or nothing, right? Essentially, and he suggested that he had conversations with the Jersey City Public Schools. I've had communications with folks related to Dr. Lyles, very good sources there, and Dr. Lyles basically asserting that there was no conversations, no communications, not from 2017 on, essentially around SciTech City, SciTech School. There was a mention of the school by Paul Hoffman to the superintendent Lyles at the time, but it was a short and brief mention, and then there was never any follow-up as a result of it, and it was really just a brief conversation about the possibility of a charter school.
Thank you, Councilman. Sorry,
yeah.
we're just going to have to jump to a
Sure.
commercial break, but we'll be right back, and we'll be back to give you some more time on this topic.
Sure.
Cutting-edge surgical care is right here in Secaucus.
Robotic surgery is safer.
Shorter hospital stays.
Smaller abdominal incisions, the size of an M&M. Here at Hudson Regional, we provide world-class robotic surgical care.
Good Friend Self-Storage in North Bergen, New Jersey is a fully climate-controlled facility equipped with state-of-the-art security, packing supplies, a Refer a Friend program, and multiple loading docks convenient for commercial use. Located just off of Route 3 at 4301 Tunnelly Avenue, Route 1 and 9. Call 201-867-2444 or visit us on the web today. Good Friend Self-Storage. Let us be your good friend.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut. John R. Heidiss, still joined here with Jersey City Councilman-at-Large Rolando Lavarro. So, Councilman, yeah, I mean, look, obviously Mayor Fulop made that assertion, and, you know, certainly there were members of the public schools, both teachers and others, that pushed back. So, you know, I'm not exactly sure what happened there, but I know you're saying that there was a misrepresentation. Of course, you're saying that he lied.
I'll just say he lied. I'll call it what it is. And he says it to basically try to sell his vision, right? Tries to make it sound like it's this is the only option, this is the only pathway to get where we are. And the fact of the matter is that he never ever explored the idea. I think I said it in my closing comments there last night, and in his own words, in his own remarks last night, he said about the idea of kind of funding the schools, that it's like putting money into the abyss of the Jersey City Public Schools. That's kind of like how he views the schools. That's how he views most of the traditional institutions in Jersey City. It's like the abyss, right? Unless it's his institution and his vision, the rest of us were just. And I pointed out the idea that when you look at kind of the Lowe's Theater and how he treated the Friends of the Lowe's, he looks at those folks and as the abyss of some sort. When you look at the Catine Memorial statue and folks being opposed to that, even though I voted for both of these things at the same time, it's kind of how he treats and how the little disrespect of those communities, communities that build Jersey City and have built it and made it what it is today. Finally, it is offensive, and it's and more recently, he'll talk about the idea that he's learned from these things. But in fact, if you look today at the Jersey City Reservoir and what's going on there, and the Reservoir Preservation Alliance and the fight that they're trying to do just to be able to realize the vision of what they wanted to have, a natural preserve over there around that, he completely disrespects and disregards the input of other people, claims he's learned, but he's actually learned nothing over this time. It's just a matter of when he loses the battle, then he kind of changes his narrative around it, as he did with the Friends of the Lowe's and the Lowe's Theater.
So with that said, Councilman, obviously I think anyone that's been paying attention over the past few months could tell no love lost between you and Mayor Fulop. Obviously there was a time when you guys were close political allies. Obviously that time has passed. So last time you were on this program, I asked you if you had given serious consideration to Mayor. You said you had. Has anything changed?
No, I'm still seriously considering it. I know the time is short, and residents are always asking me, why don't you just run at this point? And I am giving it a serious consideration. And but look, it's to be very blunt about it. He's an incumbent with millions of dollars from his rich relationships with developers and other folks that he's done business with. I'm the most transactional mayor in Jersey City's and Hudson County's history, possibly as a politician. And so, you know, it's an uphill climb. And so if I'm going to throw my hat into the ring, I only do it to win at the end of the day. But I do think Jersey City deserves better at this point, and we deserve a new direction. And we deserve leadership that's going to respect the people of Jersey City and build a city that's meant for the people and who lived here and made Jersey City what it is today.
All right, well, hopefully we'll hear an announcement on that shortly, good, bad, or indifferent. So let's go back to last night for a moment. Something that you talked about was school funding. Of course, a lot of people last night talked about school funding, but some of your colleagues said, look, I understand the frustration, understand the dismay, let's take the fight to Trenton, but that doesn't mean we should stop this school. So, you know, what do you think about that kind of attitude towards what was in front of the council last night?
Yeah, I think the speaker spoke more eloquently about it than I did. It's misplaced priorities, right? So it's not the idea that the school is a bad idea and whatnot, but the idea that where are we starting with our priorities? We have a crisis. It's really a funding crisis. We have an affordable housing crisis. We have a school crisis, school funding crisis. It's and we have these misplaced priorities that are not prioritizing our children. There was a woman who spoke there, a teacher who teaches special ed, and talked about how we with that vote last night, how we simply are prioritizing the A++ students, right? And the rest of the students, the B's and C students and the special ed students, that they're not seeing the opportunities and realizing the opportunities that come with this vision of Sci-Tech City. I would completely concur with her, right? There's probably 1,000 other ways I could think of, and I'm not even an expert in this area, but that they could have approached this. Happy to talk about that at length, but I'm probably going to propose some things going forward into the future as to how this could be done, because this is that MOU that we did approve, as somebody mentioned, and it's a non-binding agreement. So I think I'm going to still propose some ideas as to how we can approach this differently and make sure that it really works for Jersey City.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Well, interesting perspective. I mean, as you know, Mayor Fulop, has a different one. He thinks this is equitable for everyone. Obviously, you're clear that you don't. But, with all that said, Councilman, just anything else you wanted to touch on today before we let you go?
No, I think, look, it's as you said, he thinks it's equitable. I think when you look at kind of where Jersey City's students fall, particularly minority, low-income students, they are left in the cold, left out of the equation of this, and they can't spin that in any way, shape, or form, right? They're going to try to say they're going to help remediate and help students kind of make their way in, but we know that students are underperforming, and we need to do more to be able to address that.
Thank you, Councilman. Always a pleasure. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. We're not done yet, but we are going to take another break.
Pan & Pinto Properties, Jersey City. Shaping the workplace with state-of-the-art office spaces that address your company desires. Building residences that define your home environment. Adjacent to all modes of transportation with on-site parking available. The right address, the right lease. Call 201-521-9000 or visit online at panandpintoproperties.com. Pan & Pinto Properties, building Jersey City for everyone.
Stevens Jersey City Ford, located right off of NJ 440 North. Across the Hudson Mall is your one-stop for all your automotive needs. Check out Ford's latest models like the 2020 Ford Fusion with its stylish looks and hybrid options, or the unparalleled high-performance 2020 Ford Mustang. The 2020 Ford F-150 Raptor is ready for those rugged off-road terrains with trail control. Need a mid-sized truck for your towing and hauling? The 2020 Ford Ranger will deliver. The 2020 Ford Escape is a luxury SUV that was made for comfort and adventure on the go. Returning is Ford's legendary Bronco, which takes you back to the true meaning of off-roading. They are now available for pre-order in our showroom or on our website. Let us help you find your next vehicle. Stevens Jersey City Ford, 201-432-7272.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut, John, Our Highness. So, as I mentioned, we wanted to talk a little bit about a couple things that happened last week. First of all, we're going to talk about State Senator Brian Stack, also the Union City Mayor, kicking off the re-election bid for himself and his legislative colleagues. That's Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee and Assemblywoman Annette Chaparro, again, as I mentioned at the top of the program. So this is an uncontested race at the moment, but, in typical Brian Stack form, he is making sure to do it big and let everyone know where he is on the ballot and what they're standing for. We saw a lot of big endorsements at that St. Anthony's Church event. While they were all done remotely, we still heard from U.S. Senator Cory Booker, we heard from U.S. Senator Bob Menendez, Congressman Abi Osira, State Senator Vin Kapal, State Senate President Steve Sweeney, Hoboken Mayor Ravi Bala, Hudson County Executive Tom DeGise, and Weehawken Mayor Richard Turner, and that's just to name a few. Obviously, they've secured a number of endorsements, again, without really having a particularly competitive race. So, it's the testament and a credit to that team that is spearheaded by the state senator and mayor. So, also, I had a chance to talk to him a little bit on the policy end after the event concluded. We actually were able to talk about this school funding crisis a little bit. We also talked about the Palisade Cliffs Protection Act. And finally, we talked about the Hudson County Democratic Organization line and this push for progressives to try to eliminate that in the foreseeable future. So we're going to go to that clip, and then we're going to take one more break. We're talking school funding. Is that something that's on your radar? And what do you have planned, if anything?
Absolutely. In fact, I've been meeting with the various groups in Jersey City, some of the Board of Education members, to really look and see where we can help them to bring more money in. John, the way that money's being taken away right now is unfair. I realize Jersey City has seen a lot of growth, but it's going to take time. I think you can't just cut them the way they've been cut. They need to be weaned little by little. You can't hit people with massive tax increases. It's never a good time to have a tax increase, John, but this would definitely be the wrong time. When you look at the numbers, you're reading those numbers I'm reading, it's impossible. So definitely we have a lot of meetings set up with the governor, with the DOE, to help Jersey City with that. I'm committed to that. So is Annette and Raj. We all have to recognize our neighbors, and I think Hoboken has to do that. I think some of the council members realize that in Hoboken. Maybe the councilwoman doesn't agree with us on that. I just think blocking the views along the Palisades is the wrong thing to do. I think Hoboken's residents are not looking for gigantic buildings. They did surveys in the past in Hoboken. I think the average survey was saying they were looking at a 6 or a 7-story building. Hoboken's very congested. I'm not interfering in Hoboken's business, but I also have to protect the interest of everyone from Jersey City all the way up to Englewood Cliffs. The Palisades is something I think that the views of the Palisades we have to preserve. And that's something we're looking to work together on. We have a piece of legislation in. We're dropping another piece of legislation, possibly to create something similar to the Highlands Commission, where there's going to be a board, and they'll judge some of these applications as they come in. It won't be one swoop, one remedy that will take away Hoboken's ability to build. We're not looking to do it all. We're just looking to say, look, recognize your neighbors.
So what do you think about this effort to get rid of the line? People talking about fair elections, fair ballots. Any take on that?
It's a good question, John. I thought a lot about it. I know most elected officials will duck the question. I thought a lot about it. I think the line is wherever the mayors in that legislative district are, is really what sets the line. I'm not really a concerned person about whether I'm on the line, off the line. I know people put a lot of emphasis into that. I think, John, if you're doing a good job, if you're doing a decent job, if you have the trust of the people, they'll find you no matter where you are. I would be a person that really I don't have any issue with that whatsoever. I know that there's a big issue in New Jersey with the progressives about the line. Look, wherever I am on the ballot, I'm going to make sure I educate people. That's where I am. And if they want you, they'll find you. I think there's too much emphasis put on the line. I really do. I mean, look, like you mentioned that I ran off the line in 2007. They spent probably 4 times as much as I did at the time. We were victorious. And you know what? I just don't put that major emphasis like many other people do in the line. Whatever happens with that, I'll abide by it and I'll live by it. It's not going to do or die for an elected official. I think too much.
Regional Hospital, we promise to be prepared for your emergency.
We promise to provide world-class robotic surgical care.
We promise to treat you like family.
To provide accurate diagnostic care.
To provide the most innovative orthopedic care at your doorsteps.
We promise to treat your baby like our own.
To never stop investing in the best of spinal care.
To be with you every step of the way.
Here at Hudson Regional Hospital, we promise to take care of our community.
A brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's tough enough to have best-in-class available payload and smart enough to know that a cab can also be an office. A truck equipped with best-in-class available towing that asks, why can't all that power more than just this truck? No, Your brand new truck isn't just a brand new truck when it's the all-new F-150. Tough this smart can only be called F-150.
Hudson County View, live at Uncut. John Arhitis, and want to just take another somber moment today to give my well wishes and best regards to the Jersey City Board of Education President Mussab Ali. He announced earlier this week that he is actually undergoing chemotherapy due to stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. So he put out a pretty lengthy statement about this, and I just wanted to read a portion right now. To my constituents, being elected to serve you is the honor of a lifetime. There is nothing I would rather do at this time than serve our children. They are our future. With God's help, I can continue to serve them. My family and I appreciate your thoughts and prayers, and we will continue to keep the people of this resilient city in ours. So look, obviously just horrific news. It's really, really tough to hear, and I'm sure a whole lot tougher to endure, needless to say. But, I think as this young 24-year-old has exhibited to us over the past few years, I mean, this is a guy that can certainly scrap when he has to. Just those of you that have heard him speak recently about this school budget know that he's no pushover. And I think that that fighting spirit will certainly come in handy for what he's going through right now. And this is someone who's extremely accomplished. For those of you who may not know a little bit about his personal history, but he's a member of the 2020 class of Schwarzman Scholars. He's also a student at Harvard Law School, the youngest BOE president in Jersey City history, and the first Muslim elected in Jersey City history. So again, a pretty decorated career at just 24 years old. So again, nothing but the best, Mussab, who just joined us here last week. So moving on to a completely unrelated topic, we want to talk about Assemblyman Nick Chiaravalloti. So as you guys know, about a month ago on this program and on our website, we were talking about Mayor Jimmy Davis kicking him off the Hudson County Democratic Organization line. It was pretty unexpected. He's a 3-term assemblyman, and not only that, he's the New Jersey Assembly Majority Whip, which is the number 3 in command in the lower house. So to hear that the mayor was going to get rid of him without an explicit reason was quite a surprise to just about everybody. Now, in the past week or two, though, we've heard from the incumbent assemblyman that he's not ready to call it quits just yet. And I think he signaled a pretty clear message by sending out an email blast asking for petitions of nomination signatures last night. So I'll just quickly read what that said. It was pretty simple, straight to the point. It is an honor to represent Bayonne and Jersey City and Trenton. Moving New Jersey and Hudson County forward as your 31st Legislative District Assemblyman is a privilege. I ran for public office not because I needed a job, but because a job needed to be done. It would be an honor to continue representing the 31st Legislative District, but I can't do it without you. Will you support me by signing my petition to get my name on this year's primary election ballot? So, obviously, he's got a heavy lift in front of him if William Sampson IV does indeed get the HCDO line, but it looks like a challenge that he is up for. We're obviously going to give you the latest on that. And finally, just very quickly, I would be remiss if I did not mention that U.S. Senator Bob Menendez said on Tuesday in a letter to Governor Phil Murphy that Hudson County is in dire need for more COVID-19 vaccinations. So he said, I understand that New Jersey uses a COVID-19 vaccine allocation framework that considers a variety of factors, including inventory, throughput, disease burden, and equity. However, I respectfully ask your administration to examine this disparity in doses administered per capita to make certain that Hudson County residents receive an equitable allocation of vaccines. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you again next week.